Hello, mathematicians, puzzlers, and other curious people. I know people are having some unexpected extra time at home at the moment, and so I wanted to throw something out there that I've just started playing with a little while ago called dynamic color in GeoGebra. So this uses some geometry and some numbers to do some interesting things creatively. So if you go to this site right here, geogebra.org, they've got some different things that they offer both as downloads and as web apps. I'm going to demonstrate in the geometry web app today. So I've got it already loaded up in this page right here, but it doesn't take a long time to load up. So because of what I'm going to do, I'm going to show the axes, and you may have seen me use this for some different things before, but I'm not going to build a complicated construction with a lot of lines and segments today. I'm just going to build one point. Seems simple, right? Now the next thing I'm going to do with that point, instead of build anything off of it, is go into its settings. And in settings, I'm going to go to advanced, and this is where the dynamic color menu lives. So they've got different options of how your color modeling can go. Let's see, RGB is red, green, and blue. HSV is hue, saturation, and value. HSL, I think, is hue, saturation, and lightness. I'm not exactly sure the difference between these two, but I'm going to use this one. If you don't know what something is, just play with it. It's okay. It's just numbers and pixels. Okay, so here are what these different things do. I'm going to drag this point over here so we can see what it's doing. Okay, so in HSV, okay, so if we turn the saturation up and down, so these numbers range between 0 and 1, so think about them kind of like a percentage, except they don't have the point already moved over. So you see this color right here, kind of yellowish. If we turn the saturation up to like 0.5, that didn't change much. Whoops, okay. Don't need that extra point. Let me just delete that before it clutters things up. Okay, so if we turn that saturation up to 0.5, it's a little kind of more vibrant looking. 0.75 more so. And all the way up to 1, that's like 100%, so fully saturated. Value, this isn't like value as in money. It's just another word for how light or dark something is. So a 0 would be a completely black dot. Let's see. A 1 would be as bright as it can be. 0.5 would be kind of a mid-range. Whoops. Like that. Okay, and so then hue is what I'm going to do something interesting with. So for the hue, I'm going to use the distance formula, which is already programmed into GeoGebra. If it weren't, I could punch it in, but I don't need to do that. So I'm going to have GeoGebra calculate for me the distance between this point. Its name is point A, you can see there. It says right there. And your first one in this program is always point A unless you rename it manually. So the distance between point A and the origin, which has the coordinates 0, 0. Okay, let's see. 2 open parentheses, 2 close parentheses. That should work. Okay, now that changes the color, like the hue. So hue is like red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, violet, like those. So that changes the actual color of the point based on how far from the origin it is. So I think that's really fun. And we can make it kind of take notes for us by clicking Show Trace. So when we do that and we move the point around, it leaves kind of a trail that shows you what color it was at that different place. It does like a certain amount of those per second as you're moving. So if you go really fast, it looks like it's skipping around. So you have to slow down for it to look continuous. You can do whatever you want. It's an art project. It's your decision about what effect you want to go for. Now I notice that as we go around in circles, we stay in a similar color. allowing for a little bit of not going perfectly because we're doing this by hand. And it turns out that if you go around different sized circles, it actually draws circles of different colors for you with these settings. So I think that's really fun. Okay, now what else can it do? This can do all kinds of things. So you can pick it up and then start tracing again. That's good if you want to write words like, you can say hi. So you can do that if you want to. Other things you can do is a little more work in here in the settings. So I made this value kind of a halfway mark, but we can do something different with that. So we can use values to do with that point other than just its distance from the origin. So now for the value, for like what number it's going to use between 0 and 1 to tell you how light or dark to make it, I'm going to use the x value from point A. So that is just x values go from left to right on here. It's these numbers on the axis. So if I do that, you see it's doing the same colors, but some of them are brighter and some of them are darker than they were a while ago. So this is a way to get another feature showing in your graph. And you can get some interesting kind of vertical lines based on the x values at that location on the graph that way. If you want to get horizontal lines, there's a way you can do that also. Let me drag this over so it's easier to see. So if you're interested in looking at horizontal lines, you can come into the settings and say, okay, I'm going to try this out in the saturation. So I'm going to have that saturation value be the y value at point A. Again, saturation is how kind of thoroughly mixed in the color is. So like you see in some places, let's just get a bit more so we can have an example. Okay, so you see across here, the colors are very vibrant, but then across here, they're very grayed out, coming up to more vibrant, coming down to more grayed out, and so on. And so you can see how that's kind of going the two different ways to experiment with different things. Now, you don't have to just use that x and y directly. You can, oh yeah, that's another thing. When you move, the whole thing kind of resets. That can be good. Just be careful about doing that. I slipped. Fortunately, I wasn't doing anything I really wanted to keep that time, but just be careful. Okay, so you can also use that x of a and y of a in further calculations. So I'm going to put these back to 1, but I'm going to say, okay, for the hue, instead of using that distance formula, I'm going to take x of a. Let's see. I'm going to square that, and then I'm going to multiply that by y of a. And I want to see what this does. Let me make sure that went in right. Okay. Y of a squared. I want to do the same thing with both. That was my goof up. Okay, see how that changed? Okay, so let's see what this does. It looks like it's changing wildly out there. But if you get to where either the x or the y is close to 0. It looks like this gives numbers that are close to 0. And you can kind of follow some contour lines around it, even though it looks like those contour lines are extremely close together. Okay, so that was an interesting one. I'm not even going to try to do everything that can be done with this because there's just so much out there. I still want to do a Pi Day post today because Happy Pi Day. Haven't quite got it to work right yet, so I live in hope. Might end up reposting something from last year, but I really wanted to throw this out there because it's something anyone can play with. And like I said, I know various mathematicians, puzzlers, and curious people are going to have some extra time to try things out this week and in the coming weeks. So be safe, everyone. Have fun trying things out. And I will calc you later.